Welcome to Happily Ever Aftermath.
The podcast where we discuss relationships in movies and our relationships with them.
I'm Polina Grunbaum.
And I'm Diana Rojek-Sconard.
Hello, welcome back.
Hey.
So today we're talking about Purple Rain, 1984's Purple Rain.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who do not know anything about this movie, it's essentially a kind of a after-school special with Prince in it, and a lot of music. This is
nudity.
And nudity.
What school did you go to?
Yeah. I have a lot of feelings about this movie, but we will talk about all of them.
We only have an hour.
That's true. Okay, we'll just talk about the first, say, 10. First, top 10 feelings.
Top 10 feelings. Okay.
Top 10 feelings.
Go ahead.
This is essentially a musical. It's maybe a rock opera, rock musical. It's been described in many ways. But a victim of his own anger, the kid, Prince, is a Minneapolis musician on the rise with his band, The Revolution, escaping a tumultuous home life through music. While trying to avoid making the same mistakes as his truculent father, the kid navigates the club scene and a rocky relationship with the captivating singer, Apollonia. But another musician, Morris Day, played by Morris Day, looks to steal the kid's spotlight and his girl.
I missed it. Where was that from again?
That is from Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, okay.
That's the Rotten Tomatoes
There you
review.
go. Truculent?
Truculent.
Truculent?
Truculent. I would say more than truculent is like, like violent and angry and bitter. Violent, and
those
angry.
Words work.
Yeah, truculent does not work. That was the only thing in this description. It's hard to find a good description of this movie.
Well, you have so many feelings about it. There's going to be no short description that'll get it right for you.
That's very true.
You need to write your own, Polina.
Yeah, I was going to, but there's basically two. There's two schools of. There's two kind of things going on in this movie. One is this
Purple, and the other one is
rain.
Yeah,
yeah. There's
that's
lots, and motorcycles.
I'm brand new to this movie, so I'm going to be making many very short observationally quips, and then I'm going to ride back.
Oh, I see. So that's the plan. I like it. I like having a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of purple. There's a lot of fancy footwork. There's a lot of lingerie worn as outerwear.
So my first observation is Prince is a showman and a performer.
Amazing.
And it was incredible to watch it.
Right.
That's note number one.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not note number one.
I mean, that's the most important thing to know about this movie, to be honest. So let me tell you my history with this movie real quick.
Okay.
So 1984, the album came out. Okay. And the movie came out too. But I was like 11. And so I did not, it's an R, for reasons we will get to in a minute. So I will not.
Short answer, nudity.
Yes. And violence.
And language.
Okay,
we
just
covered it.
all the good reasons that you have an R rating.
No, we covered it. We're fine.
The other thing is that there's parental,
violence.
So there's parental violence. So this, there's all sorts of parental stuff in this movie and my relationship with it. So,
anything perennial?
Yes, my love of this album is perennial, and my love of Prince is perennial. But maybe, yeah. Okay. That has not gone away. So anyway, I was obviously too young, and I remember, but the album came out in 1983, I think, but probably it was in 1984 when I sort of got a hold of it. And everybody was talking about it because it had a parental advisory
on the album,
like label.
Okay.
And there was a song that it famously, and this is, we're like 11 and 12. Everyone's 11 and 12, and we are I'm actually shocked.
I'm actually squirming in a crib in this time
yes,
frame.
Exactly.
That you speak. So
yes,
not everyone.
Yes. No, but I mean everyone that I like. Okay. Everybody of my cohort was the really kind of outrageous thing was that. There was something they couldn't play on the radio.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And it was the first album that they couldn't play on the radio.
No, I'm sorry.
That I loved.
It's just that I think my equivalent to that was the soundtrack to Dangerous Minds and Gangster's Paradise.
Yes.
So,
but this is like 10 years. This is like beginning.
Well, no, that's my point. Like my version of that is.
But like parental advisory had only just started.
That was my follow-up question.
Yeah.
When did the ratings and things like that? It doesn't matter, but it was relatively new.
But it was relatively new. Like that was the first one that
kind of like how they just introduced PG-13.
Yes.
Okay.
It was right around this time
For the movies.
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
So I so I was listening to it on the radio and then I did the thing that you always do, which is that you tape all the songs. This is what we did. We taped all the songs off the radio when they would come up.
Did you
come on?
Okay, now did you have enough technology to where you could do it with the machine itself, or were you playing a radio into another box where you hit record and you demanded everyone in the house to be quiet?
No, I had bought myself, I think about that time, I'd bought myself a record play, like a stereo system.
Hey, big spender.
Oh yeah. No, I worked all summer in the New Jersey humidity and heat, like delivering newspapers.
Okay.
It was hard. And it was hot and there was a lot of stairs. Anyway, but of course I really, really wanted the album because I wouldn't play all the songs.
Mm-hmm.
So I bought the record and there was a friend of mine, I'm not gonna name her, because I don't have her permission because I'm not in contact with her anymore. So I'm just going to call her Jane. A friend of mine and I basically became friends over this album. She had actually gone to see the movie with her older brother.
Okay.
Which, I mean, now it seems weird. And so we became obsessed. I became obsessed with this album. I listened to it over and over and over again. And when it came out in VHS, and at the time, things would come out like far, far later than they do now. Like it was like a year later. So finally, I'm like 12.
Oh, okay, back
or
up one
13.
second. Because you became obsessed with the album.
Yeah.
And then you said when it came out on VHS. So you became obsessed with the album. So when the movie came out on VHS,
yes,
you still hadn't seen it yet.
I had not seen it.
Okay.
Because it's like a rated R movie.
Right.
And, everybody was talking about how much
I'm just trying to follow. I'm trying to follow
it.
the narrative. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I come out, and so my father, this is so unlike him, my father must bought it for me because at the time, I know this gets weird. He knew I was obsessed with this album. And he knew I wanted to see the movie because I think I'd asked them originally if we could see it together, or if I could go see it, and they were like, "No."
Okay, so they knew that they were not going to take you to see it, but then your father purchased it for you.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I'm trying to get the. Oh.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Like, I don't know if he forgot why he wasn't supposed to see it, or if he thought it was ridiculous. But what he was trying to do, I think, is because he realized, like, oh, I am moving away. I'm kind of getting into a truculent teenage phase.
There's that word again.
Yeah. Well, at least it actually applies in this case. I was not violent and I wasn't that bitter. And so at least in this case, it applies.
I was at 13, but
violent and bitter. You were probably bitter.
I don't know.
I was bitter.
No, I was called sardonic when I was in 8th grade.
Sardonic.
I had to look it up before I could respond.
Not truculent.
Stop you. Okay.
I'm going to say I was truculent. Like, I'm going to call it what it is.
Well, I'm going to request that we not use that word until I have the definition memorized.
Truculent?
Yeah. I'm just going to say mean and bitter and abusive like the father in this movie. You were mean and abusive and...
No, I was truculent.
What does that mean?
I don't know if I was mean. Anyway, let's move on.
Well, stop using the word the way we can move on.
Okay.
Thank you.
I accept it.
Thank you.
So I think they just wanted to connect with me, and like my parents were really into music, and they were really into movies, and they actually really liked Prince. I think my mom found him like the videos a little off-putting for reasons, but
if any of the live performances I saw in this movie is representative of his videos, I'm with your mom. Oh, he was humping the equipment.
Yep. Okay, and so I want to put that into context in a little bit too. But I'm going to show the first time I saw this movie, my father was trying to like connect with me, and they thought, oh, it's perfect. We'll see this movie that she's wanted to see. Like now she's old enough. I think it must have been like just turned 13 or something like that. And I sat down and watched it. And this is how I remember the movie. Is there's this they're trying to kind of do that kind of Godfather like intro where it's like there's something happening and then you see all the other people either doing something else or kind of that's how they introduce all the characters.
At a wedding?
Well, just like at an event that is
Okay.
important.
Oh, okay.
You know,
I'm
like,
trying to run the parallels.
yeah. I mean, they actually said this. Like, that's what they were going for, whether or not they succeeded.
Oh, they were.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's a great
creators.
Rolling Stone article called "The Oral History of Purple Rain" that if people are into it, they will link it in the show notes. So, we watched it. We sat down, and all I remember is people licking the side, like it was the show, and then people licking the side of each other's faces, wearing like all that kind of new age makeup that the 80s is known for. And
Gem.
like Gem, but don't compare it to Gem. It's so much better.
I'm only pulling with the context that I know.
Okay, you're right.
Gem and
Fair.
Transformers.
Oh God, I love Transformers. That was the thing. It was a confusing time for me. I was like watching Gem and this.
Well,
so
also you're
that's
13,
fair.
so
Yeah, it's a confusing time. And I was just squirming watching it with my parents. Rewatching it, I realized there was only one face licking, though I remember the face licking going on for like 30 minutes.
I don't remember face licking.
That's all I remember.
Wait, at the concert or in the sex scenes?
No, in the beginning, like when the very beginning when they're introducing all the characters.
Okay.
They kind of have these like montages where they're kissing. So they're kissing and they're like, there's one of like somebody licking the side of each other's face. And I think at some point we like all turned it off, but I think because my dad's kind of a hoarder, like we just kept the video. Like I think all of us were like, I don't really want to watch this with you.
Did you watch it individually at different points in time?
I don't know if my parents ever watched it.
Okay.
I think my father said that he did sit down one day. He like couldn't sleep and he sat down and he's like, that's a weird movie. And I think my mom, so I'll tell you how my mom did watch it. So at some point I sat down and I watched the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was one of those movies I watched with my friend Jane.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what happened was I probably only watched it once all the way through. And then, of course, like you do, subsequent rewatchings were like we're like skipping all of the explanations and just going to the concert footage.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about this movie that I remember when watching it is, and I'm going to echo a lot of things that, because there's been a lot of ink spilled over Prince, that, at the time, this is the first movie, that introduced me to a sexuality that made some sense to me. Because this is how I remember the movie, I just want to say.
Okay.
My experience of rewatching it is different. But this is how...
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I'm older. But what I remember, he is unconventionally sexy. And when I was like 12, you wouldn't know this now, but like when I was 12 and 13, I was stick thin, taller than everybody else. Mm-hmm. And he's like really short. He's like, somebody said built like a jockey, which I thought was like pretty fair. And he kind of looks like
muscular, but petite.
He's like 5'2" or 5'3". Really? He's a tiny man.
Well, may he rest in peace.
Yes, was.
Right.
And
I remember hearing that, but it's like not really spoken of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was spoken of at the time a lot. Well, because you saw him everywhere, and so you saw him next to other people that were not as diminutive.
Well, interesting, because, it didn't come across in the movie, so I'm wondering if they just tried to get around it, or...
He wore heels the whole time.
Oh.
But everybody's like, a lot of actors are short. But so I think but like when you see him on stage, he is shorter than other people. But he was wearing heels like the whole time.
Oh, interesting. Well, it wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
Too much of a showman.
He is such a
performer.
Showman. So
it's in my notes.
Yeah. And also if you like, especially like Purple Rain, if you read the lyrics of his songs, like even the sex, a lot of it is really female driven.
The lyrics?
Like, yeah, the stories. Like when he tells a story about sex, which he does in a lot of songs, it's very much about kind of the woman decides how it's going to go. I mean, even Darling Nikki. Mm-hmm. And so I think for a lot of, and he's very that kind of like playing with male and female. I mean, in 1984 at the time, all of the stuff that I was seeing about sex was from like was mostly from like just guitar rock and hard rock and like you know, there was a t-shirt everybody was wearing, like I think it was Guns N' Roses, where it was a t-shirt that guys were wearing to school, and it was like it was a concert t-shirt, and it was this woman like basically she looks like she's drugged and basically left like half naked in an alley. And that was like a t-shirt that people were wearing to school.
Until the principal was called and they were told to turn it inside out until they got sent home?
Weirdly, no. I mean, finally, I think when I was in high school, they like stopped. But no, I mean, it was so strange. And so it felt like all the sexuality felt very predatory.
Okay.
And had nothing to do, you know, this kind of the idea of, you know, women as objects, whereas Prince was very sensual. There was a lot of this, like it kind of felt like watching what I imagine people feeling when they watched Elvis for the first time. Like that's how I felt. No. I mean, not the parents, not the parents. Though I think, I mean, because there was so much. There was a lot of sex.
So liberated then.
Liberated, but also like, oh, that's what it's supposed to feel like.
Okay.
Like this is the first time that it's okay. Like and then you see what. Like it was the first time I think I really saw sensuality.
Oh,
and maybe that's the thing.
Can you give me like a third? You said Dear Nikki,
Darling Nikki.
Darling Nikki. I'm sorry. I apologize to all the Prince fans. I am an ignorant person.
Really
when
fine.
It comes to Prince.
I'm sure we're all close. We will all be happy to school you, but we won't do it in this hour.
Well, schooled sounds so mean.
It does, doesn't it? I'm sorry.
No,
it's truculent. Sorry, couldn't resist.
You owe me $1.
I do.
No, my question is, in the context of knowing nothing, I'm watching the movie and he's performing that song while he's doing the scene in the movie is where he's performing that, but he's clearly angry at Apollonia and he's acting out on stage. So I don't get that in the context of the song itself. So everyone's reacting and I'm not entirely sure what's going on. So can you give me like a 30-second rundown of the song itself?
So I think it got kind of, because I agree with you, it's a little weird. It's like he's angry, but also he's being completely outrageous. Like he knows how outrageous the song is, and the whole thing with a lot of this movie, a lot of the song, it's basically about Morris Day and the time and Prince and the Revolution. They keep trying to up each other. There's this. It's like musical and showmanship. They keep trying to make things either bigger or more outrageous for each other. That's like a big part of that movie, and it was a big part of that scene.
Okay.
And
I imagine they're friendly in real life.
They were.
Okay.
They're not anymore, but I mean, that's, I don't know. Anyway, we won't go into that.
Right. There's so much history and apologies to the listeners.
And that's what it's really, really hard. It's like trying to keep it small is hard.
Well, there's so much context, and as a brand new watcher of the movie, I'm like, there's so much context, there's so much history, I'm not getting this, and there's so much after as well. This isn't even in the relationship stuff. This is just talking about the history of Prince and all this other stuff. I bet you I could give you my whole Prince background in less than 1 minute.
All right. I'll try to be more that's a good thing to be. I'll try to explain a little more. So so that's one of the, like, there's those two subtexts of him. Yeah, he's angry with her. And that actually kind of confused me because...
So he's angry at the character, but in the song, is the song reflecting that? Or is he just singing the song in regular, but using his anger in the music to... It's like what's happening in the song is not conveying what he's trying to convey in the movie. Or,
I think you're right.
Okay, I'm asking.
I don't know. It's actually kind of, I found that part really confusing. So I think it's a really good question.
Okay.
Because if you listen to the song, it's like, it's basically this woman who is, it's talking about a woman who likes sex.
I don't understand.
But that was actually kind of shocking because it was really very much about, you know, everything that I was starting to hear about sex was very much about men getting one up on women, almost like you're tricking women into having sex with you. I mean, think about some of the movies that were out then, and this was like, here's a woman that was literally like,
Porky's
is an excellent example.
I'm trying.
I mean, James Bond films, which I saw a lot of with my dad. And I don't know. So to me, and also just you had somebody, I was really like so that song is about, it says, I met a girl named Nikki.
Okay.
You could say she was a sex fiend, not like a slut, not a whore, not a...
no, I like that.
Right?
Sex fiend.
Fiend. Like there's something outrageous about it and kind of powerful. Mm-hmm. And yet, and also something, it's a little gross and creepy.
In how he presents it, or...
Yeah. No, not how we pronounce it, but like just the word, right?
Oh, fiend.
Yeah. Like it's like all those things combined, which is what makes it interesting. Like that's what he's playing with all of this stuff.
It's deliberate, and I like that.
Yeah, it's
the choice of words.
Exactly. And the way what he did with music is so layered and fascinating and genre bending and all the stuff that, mm-hmm. that he's doing. And he like in one scene, he's playing this music, and it sounds like either somebody laughing or having sex. And it turns out that it's tears. It's somebody crying, and I think it's his mom.
So in that scene,
and he plays it backwards,
right? And
he's trying to explain, and so it's this thing of like, oh, he's playing with all of these expectations that people have, mm-hmm. and the music, it's pop music, but it's so connected to him and his world. Mm-hmm. The other thing I think that really, really drew me to this movie then is it's one of the first movies I've seen, and one of the few really, that captures what it's like to be in an amazing concert.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like, and I was young, and a lot of the concerts I was into were like big arena shows or I couldn't go, or they were too expensive or whatever. So I wasn't going. I went with my parents to a lot of classical music concerts. Mm-hmm. So I got this idea that when you're in a room full of people, mm-hmm. enjoying music, and it's physically it's happening in real time in front of you, the power of it, like I got that. I really had, I want to thank them like for really giving me that, understanding, like to try to seek out that experience. Mm-hmm. That was like something to seek out and go out of your way for. But this is the music that really spoke to me. So this idea that I would have this, it was the beginning of seeing this life where I was going to go to these clubs. I was going to dress up, which I did, I guess, when I was older. And I was going to dance, and there was going to be this thing. I also went to a lot of ballet, and if you see a lot of his moves when I was a kid, especially.
Wow.
Well, I lived in St. Petersburg.
Well, no, just classical, and then ballet, and then Prince.
Yeah,
it's just
opera. Yeah,
an opera,
which of course, like he's so operatic. Well, but like my parents are really, and this is the other nice thing about my parents is that they really, they were so eclectic. Like I think some of it is cultural. They just didn't come. They didn't have this like. When they came here, they didn't have this thing of like, this is the music these people listen to, and this is the music these people listen to, and this is awful. And they, a lot of, they were dealing with music that like they were trading bootleg Beatles tapes. So like for them, music was really powerful.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Yeah.
Even if it you're limited to it, it's incredibly powerful, mm-hmm. but we have so many options of it now.
Yeah.
It's still very powerful.
Yeah. And my parents listened to most of my records are in my parents' house in New Jersey, and they just like pull out random albums all the time. They're like, yeah, I really like Sarah Vaughan. And then next week it's like, oh, I really like The Cure.
Well, so my version of that in my detail-oriented brain is I like this song from, and I like this song from.
Yeah.
I've never been an album person. I always was irritated when I had to buy the whole album.
Yeah.
But I would just pick.
There were albums that I realized that I always wanted to be one of those people who like, listen to the whole album. But there were albums I realized I never listened to the B-side to or whatever. And I would, you would skip. But I have records. Mm-hmm. So it was really, records and tapes made it harder because you had to you had to fast forward to exactly the right thing
and just get it right.
Yeah.
Whereas records, you had the grooves that'll show you when the next song was.
Yeah, and you had to be really
good at
careful
that.
of it. Me too. Oh,
really good.
Especially even God, owning my own record player.
That's liberating.
Was so just
There's that
powerful.
Liberating.
So that was my conception of the movie, my memory of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I remembered that there was this thing about like him and his abusive father. And also I think I had that romantic notion of the like tortured artist. Mm-hmm. So this both kind of blew my mind. And as I said, like, I think in a way, movies and music were the biggest things to me at the time.
Tortured artist is something very familiar in your
oeuvre. My oeuvre. I know. I'm always bringing out the tortured artists.
I bring out the shy geek.
I know. So it's good. We each bring our own flavor. Much like Wendy and Lisa brought so much, because that was the other thing, is Wendy and Lisa, they were in the band. Yeah. They weren't backup singers, because if you notice the time, they're only backup singer, all of the people playing. Oh,
so the credits, I read this in the trivia, the only professional actors in this movie, so you have the bands, and then you have Clarence Williams III.
Yep.
Apollonia, I don't remember her last name.
Yes.
And then the woman who played the mother, apologies for not.
She didn't have a last name.
No, the mother?
No, Apollonia. The mother is played by Olga Karlatos. I'm sorry, Miss Karlatos, for me totally butchering your name.
Well, Apollonia, the character, doesn't have a last name.
But neither does the actress.
Really?
Yes.
Well,
she had a full name, but she changed it to Apollonia.
I must respect that.
Yes, I must too.
Yeah. No, I swear when I was looking up the credits,
I think I also
right here it says Apollonia Kotero.
Oh, that's anyway. Okay, sorry.
The internet is steering us wrong.
And actually, so this woman, Vanity 6 or Vanity was originally supposed to play,
and then they broke up.
They not only broke up, but then I also heard, because no one's really found out what happened. Oh. But there's also, she actually was slated to play in The Last Temptation of Christ. Oh, so she was an actress and a musician. So she had so when I said Vanity 6, her name was Vanity, but she had this band called Vanity 6, and they dated Per and Prince, and so she actually was like, oh, I don't know which one to do. And no one knew, what to. Right. And so she went with the other one, which weirdly, Last Temptation of Christ, then got delayed. So she could have been in the movie to begin with.
So we've looked at kind of the overview of your relationship at the time.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna get that promised 1 minute my history with Prince and Purple Rain. Okay. So note number 1, Prince did the Batman soundtrack. Number 2.
And did a damn fine job.
On the Chappelle Show, Charlie Murphy told a story.
I am so glad that I was trying to bring that up.
I actually forgot about it, and Ryan's just like, so what do you know about Prince? Chappelle Show? And I'm like, oh, I got to write that down. So yes, that's my my basic pieces of Prince knowledge. Hold on a second. I believe my last note is Prince flipped off my brother-in-law.
Oh my God. Okay. I need more.
That's all there is. So I have in-laws that live in Minnesota. My brother-in-law, I don't know the specifics of the situation, but there was cars involved and Prince flipped off my brother-in-law.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I saw Prince once only, which is sad.
Did he flip anyone off?
He did. I do not recall he did.
Okay.
It was at the Fillmore, and I was 50 feet away from him, and it was pretty much everything I thought it would be and more. It was the most incredible 3.5, 4 hours of my life.
How is he with his fans? I imagine that he's not the whole like, all right, I'm going to be in the back after the show. Everyone can come and get their album signed. He strikes me as more of an enigma with, this kind of shield around him.
He kind of needs to be. Yeah. I mean,
it's part of the persona.
Yeah. But I know he's very, actually would do these surprise shows all over.
Wow.
And they all benefited something.
I've heard about that kind of
So
thing.
basically what happened was
There was not much press about it, but it came out after he passed that he was supportive of this, and
oh my God,
all this money for this, and just never spoke about it.
No. So this show, he did 3 shows at the Fillmore, which is, I mean, amazing. Like seeing somebody like Prince at the Fillmore is mind blowing. It's so small. It's probably like 3,000 people. It's just not big. The legendary Fillmore in San Francisco. And there were 2 shows. One was at 8 and one was at 11. And I only got tickets. My friend Karen, who you've met, texted me and was like, "No, now you have to buy a ticket right now."
Of course you do.
And I got a ticket. It was 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. They were sold out in 3 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, you got lucky.
I got so lucky.
You need to treat Karen to some.
Oh, I did.
Right?
That's why. I mean, I keep trying to treat her to things.
Yeah.
That's why when we went out the other night. So she, I got a ticket, and I remember like it was like midnight, and I was like, I can't sleep. Do I have these? And I kept looking at my phone. Okay, so, so back to this. Your experience with Prince is limited. Now, did you end up watching the Dave Chappelle?
Oh no, I had seen the Chappelle shows multiple times.
Yeah.
In fact, when Ryan asked me, he didn't bring it up as the Chappelle show sketch. He brought it up as, are you going to bring up game blouses? And I knew exactly what he meant. So
game blouses,
and also pancakes.
Yeah,
so
pancakes.
I really like that sketch. I don't know if it holds up, but
I've heard it's pretty accurate, because he was a weird
eccentric
dude. He was
don't say weird. You got to say eccentric.
Well,
when you have money,
it's
you're weird. You're eccentric.
You're right. I'm just weird. He's eccentric. No, but he was, and that's actually the great thing about like seeing him was, first off, he was also more, he was much more generous with the musicians than he comes off in the movie.
I hope so, because he wasn't all that.
He was awful. Okay, so we should cut.
No, I have a question. I have a really important question. So Apollonia, 19.
She looks like she's 35.
Well, I want to know if I read the card correctly, because I swear it said Apollonia 19, and I wasn't positive. But do you know?
Yes, it did. It did say 19.
About how old he's supposed to be?
I think he's supposed to be about 19. He's still living with his parents.
Hey, I lived with my parents till I was 26, so let's not cast judgment on.
Oh, that's true.
Yep.
I mean, I just get
it was a different time, Polina. But no, I just wanted to clarify a couple of things.
Yeah, I'm going to say he was probably around that age, because he's obviously he's trying to be a musician. They call him the kid.
Right.
He's kind of immature, obviously.
I hope so, because I thought so.
Yeah.
I'm glad you thought so as well.
Well, I think that's a big part of, I guess that's the tortured artist thing, is he's trying to get beyond his family. That's the generous story.
Well, and also, the manager and Morris to be like, I don't know, the kid's slipping. I'm like, if he's 19, how long has he been doing this? And how well was he doing that he's fallen off? And he's like, oh, the kid's over. I'm like, how? What was happening?
You're right. Maybe he was, but I'm going to say 20, or very, very early.
Still really young. And the whole interaction between him and Apollonia when they're at the lake, when they went on their motorcycle thing. She's
so
just
childish.
I just want to be famous. I'm just tired of it not happening. I'm like, you're 19.
But I don't know. I don't know if you remember being 19 or 20, but it is an impatient ass time.
No, I am as well. But my version of that is, why aren't I done with college yet?
Yeah. Well, that was the other thing. Yeah. I was like,
I was also not in a hurry to grow up.
Yeah. I kind of was.
I
thought
I was
fail.
Ahead of my time in that I lived with my parents late.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to grow up. I had the extended adolescence before it was cool.
You're so ahead of everything.
Well,
Diana. You set all the trends.
No.
Just that one, though.
Just that one. And by set, I mean I did it, and then everyone else caught up to me.
There you go.
But for the record,
just own it. Own it.
For the record,
own
it was
it.
not it was not cool to live with my parents. It was financially necessary.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think.
Yeah.
There's no judgment, but I think I'm just saying, I think there wasn't, and nobody was in the family. It didn't strike me that everyone's like, oh God, he's you know, he should move out. Like, it was very much like, oh, well, this is where, like, well, of course, he's young.
Well, I also had opinions of, and I have not experienced a domestic violence situation. So watching it's watching something that is beyond something that makes sense to me. So watching your father beat your mother and then in the same evening smacking your girlfriend.
Yeah, but they're really, I mean, this is,
I know there is something
so
learned
problematic.
Well, not even that. It's just, again, it's in a lens that I don't understand because trying to understand something that's beyond my understanding. So I'm stepping back.
Yeah.
But just, you hate watching your father beat your mother, and then when something goes wrong, you beat your girlfriend.
Yeah.
I'm pointing it out. I don't understand it. That is my comments.
Yeah.
I understand learned behaviors. I had a few psychology classes when I was younger, but again, it's beyond me. You hate that, so don't do it.
Well, okay, so I
break the cycle.
So I watched this the other day, all the way through on my big screen TV, and
Brag.
no, but like I wanted to see it not on an iPad. I watch a lot of these movies on an iPad.
Brag.
Oh my god. And I couldn't get you out of my head, to be honest, because I was like, what have I done to her again? Because you've given me the reason to finally see this movie that I know is in the cultural zeitgeist. Thank you. Okay, I need something because I was like so much guilt.
You owe me lunch.
I'll buy you lunch. That seems fair. No, it's totally fair. I think that rewatching it, I was like, rewatching it the first time in a sort of more ideal setting. Though I think the ideal setting for watching this movie is in a theater with a bunch of people singing along, dancing. Like, I kept reading about people watching it that way.
I consider that unfair because if I'm seeing it for the first time in a theater, I want the energy of it, but I don't want people who know it and are already laughing before it's happening.
Okay, that's a good point.
Also, there's not a big plot to follow.
No.
So I don't have to worry about missing what's going on, but I watched it by myself and I was still kind of having a hard time following it. I'm like, okay, there's
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, I was also taking it, like you said, it's not a rock opera, but it's musical, kind of a jukebox musical, except it's just a performance. It's not in the storyline itself. So I'm like, okay, did his father shoot himself? Did his father shoot the mother? Is he imagining a shooting that took place in the past and he's seeing it unveiled?
The whole shooting thing was very choppy and strange.
Positive what had happened, but then I'm like, okay, so the father was, kind of like moving when they took him away. But I'm like, did he shoot himself? Did he shoot himself in front of his wife? Was there a struggle and he got shot? So I'm still unclear.
No, he was not there with his wife.
The father,
I don't think he was. I think he did shoot himself because.
You think he shot himself?
He shot himself.
The father shot himself.
The father shot himself.
And for the record, the character names are the father and the mother.
Yes, they do not have actual names.
Did he witness it or did it already happen and he came to the aftermath?
I think no. He was in the room because he opened, or he was in the house. I don't know if he was in the room because what he did is he turned the light on, and the minute he turned the light on, the gun went off.
Well, yes, but there's so much artistic imagery going on. I wasn't sure if it was like him putting together what possibly happened and he sees the aftermath as he walks in, or if it happened in front of him. Because, the lights are off and something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if
Were they standing in the dark and then they shot?
I don't know. No, that's totally confusing.
Was the mother there when it happened? And I don't know.
And also, I don't know because he keeps flashing back to seeing, like, the outline of a body.
Oh, right. See, that's the other thing. And also, whoever did that, I thought you're supposed to do that when they're dead. So that's what I thought he might be dead.
Yeah, but I wonder if he was like, and that the second time I saw it, this made no sense to me.
And he also had a flash of him hanging himself.
Yeah.
So I know that didn't happen, but it's going into my whole, is he imagining things that may have happened? Is he imagining things that he think has happened and the aftermath of what's going to happen? So again, the imagery makes me, it's inconsistent. So that's why I'm going off of these different directions.
No, I totally agree. Like there's lots of weird explanations of like things that There's lots of scenes that could be interpreted like 5 different ways.
There's lots of possible explanations.
So the first time I see it, I found it was a really weird emotional roller coaster in that I was like, oh my God, this is not the movie I remember. He was awful. Like I tried so hard to get into my 13-year-old brain that was like, and I just couldn't, because I was just like, oh, sweetie, like you don't need to see this. You're too young. But second off, to my 13-year-old self. Second off, I was like, he was horrible. He was this horrible, horrible person.
Self-centered.
Super self-centered. Like it took a suicide for him to like finally listen to Wendy and Lisa. Well, he did listen to it before, but like it took a suicide for him to finally listen to Wendy and Lisa's stuff. And he was like terrible. And I just couldn't get beyond it because, as I said in the beginning, I had this thing of like, this is all very like kind of female centered and was very much about, was very like sensual and not sexual. But there's like a woman gets thrown in a dumpster by Morris Day.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even just like him. So when I rewatched
literally picked up a woman
and
threw her into a dumpster.
Yeah, because she was legitimately angry.
I got claustrophobic, and when I saw that she made it out okay, I was like, oh, thank God.
I know. I had to like I wanted to fast forward through it so badly.
When that happened, again, it was like, oh, I heard about this.
It was, and like it just the way he plays hard to get in like just the crappiest way possible. And I mean, the second time...
Are we talking about Morris playing Apollonia? Wait, what?
Well, that's true. I mean, everybody, the way everyone treats Apollonia is appalling, and she keeps like wanting more. It's so, it made me so crazy.
I get the feeling that listeners will go not kind on Twitter and Facebook if we don't mention the iconic line about the lake.
Yes.
And I can't do it because I will accidentally call it the wrong name.
So he says that I won't, I think, love somebody unless they purify themselves in the waters of Lake Minnetonka. And she goes ahead. She starts to like.
Oh no! You mentioned it. You mentioned it. Purify yourself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka.
Yes, and then she jumps into a frozen lake, and he's like, which he does a little bit try to stop her.
That doesn't count.
Totally doesn't count. That is not enough.
She's stripping off her clothes, and is it clear? Did he think she was coming on to him?
Yeah.
Oh, so instead she was okay.
So okay. I think she was. She was like, yeah.
Well, no. I mean, did he actually think that there was this possibility that she would jump into the lake? I'm like, you're talking about you're purifying yourself in a lake. You're right next to a lake. Are you not processing that she's about to purify herself in a way that you said you were not going to do anything unless you purify yourself?
Yeah. And then all he goes is like, no. And then she does it. And then he drives away and then comes back. It's so psycho. And then it's really cold and she has to put leather back on and you see her like trying to put it on and she keeps falling down. It's just not good.
Not kind.
I think rewatching it like the third time when I watched it again, I was a little like, okay, I kind of see maybe how it's basically him realizing that he is repeating, even though he looks different and acts different, he actually is repeating all of the stuff that his father is doing.
Sure.
And that he needs to make changes. And because obviously when you get that angry, it's like, I mean, the whole thing is that you're not thinking, right? So it's like retraining your brain or whatever. But it just does not excuse this for me. Like I just really, really still had a hard time with it. The second time I was a little more able to get within my 13-year-old self, and I did see it a little less like I kind of saw because I read a lot on the internet about people excusing the misogyny in this movie as like, oh, it's because this is what he's been taught. And he's trying to get out of it. But
That's
it's
we don't have enough time to even start talking about
but I don't
that.
want to excuse it. I'm just saying, like, I could wrap my head, but it's still, like, I find upsetting. However, when I was both times, the actual music scenes were incredible. I mean, just like watching him watching him sing and dance, and even just the, you know, those big eyes, and his, you know, his sort of, I mean, they're almost like, look almost like, you know, this, like, kind of, it's like watching Jimi Hendrix. Or,
okay.
There's a lot of that. I mean, it was just incredible. Like, so that went away.
Talent. Okay.
So those are, I mean, I could do like 3 hours on this movie.
Well, here's a question for you, because while every episode we're going to talk about when did they fall in love, there's very little to work with, still more to work with than other movies we've talked about. So I'm going to let you get started with that question.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to. I think they're gonna stay together. I think the whole thing with their
no, that's after.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
No. Here's my
when did they fall in love?
Well, question. Did they? Okay,
I think she fell in love with him, because why else would you put? I mean, that's the only.
I'll start with me.
Yeah.
She, 19-year-old, fell in love with him. He's mysterious. He's interesting. He's talented. Bam. And I think that it kind of grew, I'm going to say, just because for the sake of convenience, it's during when he sings Purple Rain.
Oh, really?
I'm going to say it's then, because puts up with this, cries hard when he does the Nicki song and bolts off. But I think it's solidified when he puts himself in the vulnerable song performance, and there it is, you know.
I think it's when actually she sees him perform the first time.
That quickly?
I think so.
Like the first 5 minutes of the movie?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the only way I can
justify
it, because just I have such, I don't know.
Whereas I believe that you have to go through a series of trials and tribulations before love can exist.
Yeah, I just feel like there's no, I mean, you're right. Like, I think they're love sword, but I agree that it's 19 love, or even maybe 16 love. Like, the relationship. Yeah, adjusted for I feel like it's almost, maybe just like, I feel like it's almost 13-year-old love. Like they're climbing into each other's like basements, and they're trading earrings. Excuse me. They're trading earrings, and they're, you know, wearing crazy clothes and listening to crazy music. Like those kids.
There is that point where he picks up her earring.
Yes.
And he just kind of looks at it, and
yeah.
I think that's a moment for him. But honestly, I think he's going through so much at that point. He still has a further way to go before he is as connected to her as she is to him.
Well, and you know, I think there's a lot of processing. I don't think he's there to completely stop, right? Yes. To completely stop being abusive. Like, I think he's gotten out of his own
I don't know about
head about being maybe a slightly nicer bandmate.
Well, also, okay, so she witnesses him become vulnerable on stage, and that's her moment for him. I don't think it's the same for him to her, because he's having this moment where he's coping with the violence in his family's, you know, with the with the ambulance or the
I mean, there was an attempted suicide,
right? Assuming that is correct.
Yeah,
I still don't know.
When I read about it, often people mentioned the assisted suicide. So that's the only thing.
I still argue with Ryan about whether or not Nicolas Cage actually raped a character in the movie Vampire's Kiss, and so all these things are open up to interpretation.
Totally.
So he still has so much to cope with.
Yeah.
I don't think he is actually able to fully fall in love in the movie timeline, in my perspective. Come at me, internet. I don't know anything about Prince. You can yell at me all you want. Please don't yell at me.
Yeah, and this is kind of complicated. It is obviously a semi-autobiographical thing that he was a part of.
Yeah. So after then. Because you got into it and I cut you off.
Oh, no. Well, no, I'll talk a little more about, like, I know when she fell in love with him.
No, I got that. But
when he quote unquote fell in love with her.
Okay, go ahead.
I haven't quite gotten to, which is that I think it's actually when when she goes to his, like, they have that first date, and they go to, and they kind of end up hanging out at his house, and it's like he says, "Oh, you can only, we have to go to your place." Because he doesn't want to, he's like scared to take her, but he lets her in there, and then they have this, like, they have some sexy times. And I feel like he plays things for her, and she kind of gets it. So I feel like whatever feelings, though, I think, they're just, I think it's like,
they're not fully
love.
fleshed out.
Yeah. But I think that's when it ended up like actually meaning something to him, which is why he was so angry at her for like the Morris Day thing.
Okay.
So, which is the Morris Day thing is basically that there's a girl band that the Morris Day character
wants to put together,
which I want to say is also very funny. Like
for the purposes of kicking out the kids band.
Yes.
As well.
Yeah,
It's
exactly. Which she doesn't know about, to be fair.
No.
So,
but she just wants to be a performer.
Yeah, exactly. And
sing
so,
and dance.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so what's going to happen to them after?
I think what's going to happen is they are going to break up in a way that we're not going to know about. And then he's going to become a very, very famous performer. What happened to Vanity? Whatever happened to Vanity?
Vanity still is singing. I mean, that's the thing. He
what's
actually like did bring up a lot of people with him.
And that's what's going to happen to Apollonia. They're going to, so whatever happened to Vanity, that's what's going to happen to Apollonia.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid is going to be appreciated in his time and the next. And he's going to make lots of money, and he's going to die under tragic circumstances that are going to cause legions of people to mourn.
My God. Mm-hmm. That's just mind-blowing. I don't think that's going to happen.
You don't think that's going to happen?
Just kidding. Yeah, I mean, I think their relationship obviously is going to be, it's going to be typical
the kids going
20s, early 20s, where you like date someone in your social circle, and then you break up, but there's somebody else you're like, I think it's going to be it's going to go on like that. But it sort of doesn't matter, because I think this is the relationship for both of them that makes them realize, hopefully, it is the relationship that where she realizes that she could be treated a lot better, and she needs to treat herself a little better. And I think it's the one where he kind of realizes, like, oh, I am actually repeating the patterns of my parents.
What do you know about Prince's actual? Was he married? Did he have children?
He didn't.
I shouldn't bring this up.
I don't know. Actually, I don't think he did.
It's yelling at me right now.
Yeah. I feel kind of, I'm talking about what a Prince fan I am. But I mean, I think one of the kind of great things about Prince is actually how much he
kept to himself.
Yeah. And also, like, frankly, I'm much more interested in his, like, the professional relationships that he had. And he,
the point is they date for a little while, but then they break up.
Yeah. And he's had a lot of long-term relationships with people that he was in bands with.
Okay.
So,
not Lisa
for years.
and Wendy.
Not Lisa and Wendy.
I read about how
that was the other really interesting thing too. It was
they
like
got cut out. Their relationship
later, yeah.
No, their relationship in the movie got cut out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and also, that was a big part of the mystique of the band even before the movie, is that you had these two women that were really playing with him. Like, it wasn't just like they were numbering backup singers.
That just like, I focus on Prince, but the whole band,
my God, the
the
band
way
is
they,
incredible.
The way they're showmen. They
Yes.
show people, women.
Yeah. And and the Wendy and Lisa thing, they stayed together for a really long time. They had children.
That's part of the cycle as well. He treats them like crap and they stick around.
Yes.
So,
and then he finally does it. But that was anyway.
Well, I don't want, people to think that that's acceptable.
I don't
stick around. They'll come around.
Yeah, I don't think it's acceptable. And to be fair, he treated everyone that way. And at least like the other men in the band, I will say he has no interest in either. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's hanging out and they're on the outside. In fact, they're closer. Mm-hmm. Like Wendy and Lisa and Prince seem a lot closer than the kid. Okay, the kid.
Keep it in context. That's all I got.
Yeah, I don't know. So do you feel tortured about, do you feel like you were new to this and you were new to the Prince phenomenon? Mm-hmm. Or not new, but as you said, these are,
like I said,
you weren't a fan.
No, I didn't. didn't really pick up on it. Like I said, bits and pieces coming through pop culture references, and it minimal. I did listen to When Doves Cry a lot, but that was. But I would listen. But I would shut it off before the song was over because I'm like, all right, this is all. It's gonna keep going. I bet you if it was live, it would have been really interesting to watch. But I'm just like, nope. Still listen to.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm done with this song.
I love that stuff. I love the ends of songs, especially his.
Yeah.
Love them. So how was it sort of seeing it for the first time?
It's interesting. You know, music was interesting. I don't think I'm going to watch it again. Sorry.
No. I do wish that there was an edit that was just like one song. That was just like all the songs instead.
It's mostly the movie.
Yeah. But, you know, you got to skip a few things.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, dang it. I'm sorry. I didn't.
Plus Morris Day. We haven't talked about like the time, their performances were so great. That's like proto James Brown.
Proto means before, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. But like this, yeah, you're right. This sort of
recognize the timeline
after, like, yeah, but this whole like James Brown shtick that he has is so fantastic.
It's shtick because the way he does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then bringing all this like kind of 80s madness to it. And like, it's like synth funk.
Dang
and
it.
I love funk.
Now,
I'm really.
now I'm slowly remembering. They're in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Morris Day and the Time.
Yeah.
So that was my little introduction
Okay.
to that. And dang it, I forgot the most important Purple Rain song, Purple Rain trivia in my life.
Okay.
So I have seen. So I was just dating Ryan, and we were gonna go swimming. So I'm in my bathing suit. All of a sudden, there's a knock on the door, and I'm like, and I look, and it's Ryan's dad, and he's just like, "Come here, you got to come see this." And he sits me down, and it's just Prince, the end of Purple Rain. And it's but the thing is, that's what really confused me. It was him singing Purple Rain, and he tried to give me a little bit of context for it, and I just watched it, and I'm just like, I don't know what's happening right now. I'm just sitting there in my bathing suit, and I'm like, what? I was too shy to say no, thank you.
Oh, that's weird. I'm trying to remember if there's,
but
I feel like it's the.
But when I was watching it, like for the show, I was thinking like, oh, cool, we're getting to the end of the movie. Well. Then I remember because I thought he would show me the climax. Well, it turns out the movie keeps going afterwards, where he performs some more, and
he performs "I'm a Star."
Well, yeah, but
so good.
But I didn't realize there was going to be more. So when Purple Rain, he actually started singing it. I'm just like, oh, cool, the movie's almost over. I'm like, why is there 20 more minutes left of this movie? Oops. Yeah. So that's my personal relationship. With
so
Purple
we
Rain.
both saw it with our father figures.
My father-in-law.
Yeah.
Oh, my father?
Somebody's
No,
but a father of some kind.
My brother listens to the podcast, and if Pat, please think about Dad watching Purple Rain.
I do not. Yeah.
I'm having a moment right now.
Yeah, that isn't awkward. When you told me that story, I was like, you only told me a little bit. You didn't say it was the end. I was like, oh God, that's almost worse than watching it with your parents.
No, there was no.
God bless my parents.
Well, no, just the musical performance. It was fine, but it's just like, yep, what's happening right now? I guess he really likes this song. This is very emotional for people in the movie.
Yeah,
I don't know what's happening.
It's so emotional.
Can I go swimming now?
Yeah, that's fair. But that song gives me the chills.
I was like Apollonia's age at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to go swimming with my boyfriend. What's happening right now? Thank you for inviting me to your home. That was my experience with Purple Rain.
Thank you, Mr. Sconner.
Yeah. Mr. Sconner, that sounds funny. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Purple Rain. Look what happened.
I don't know if I want to recommend this movie, but I will say that watching the music parts of this movie.
So get the album?
Well, oh God, you should. I mean, look, everyone should have this album. It's just a fact.
Get it on vinyl, record it to a mixtape.
Off the radio.
However, but then you can't get the full thing.
No, you need to listen to the whole full thing. But yeah, I don't know. I have trouble with this movie, but I will say that all the musical bits I will be watching. I will rewatch.
All right, so setting aside Purple Rain,
yes,
closing the books on it, which actually, if you do have comments, which please, I know you do, you can find us on Twitter. We are at HEAMCast. Facebook, Happily Ever Aftermath. Email us, contact@HEAMCast.com. Let us know, because we're starting to get some people not just liking and retweeting, but so
giving us feedback.
Yes. So, and I'd like to say a very thank you to Angela P on Twitter. After our Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead episode, she talked about oh my God, the Keith Coogan transformation, and she added Keith Coogan, and then he liked it.
Oh,
and I'm just first of all, you're listening.
Yeah.
Second of all, thank you, Angela. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
I love the interaction.
Well, it's nice because there's so much. I mean, even for us, there's so much to the movies. We could probably talk about them forever. And so having other people
want to
chime in is great, because then we're like, oh, good. I can continue this conversation. So we love it.
Get yelled at. Which people don't, like I said, please don't yell at us. But conversation. Let's continue the conversation. Did we miss something?
Yep.
Respectfully, let us know.
Yes.
At
HEAMCast. HEAMCast.
That's on Twitter, and Happily Ever Aftermath on Facebook. And thank you to the Lady Pod Squad again.
Oh, the best.
The great community that we're a part of.
Yeah, I feel really lucky.
And for those of you on the edge of your seat, we're actually going to do a very special, because given the schedule, it will come out on Valentine's Day. In celebration of the last in the important trilogy, 50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades Free.
50 Shades Freed is coming out to celebrate Valentine's Day. So we will be celebrating Valentine's Day
in our own way
by watching and talking about Secretary.
Yeah, which I'm very, very excited to talk to you about. I'm way too excited.
This was my choice.
Yes,
but
surprised me.
Polina's eyes went wide when I mentioned it, which was amazing, because I told her through text.
Yeah,
I don't understand how that happened, but
I'm very expressive.
We're looking forward to it, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
thank you.
Enjoy. Bye bye.